There are times in a player's career that reach a defining moment, a moment that can make or break a player's career and whether they can course correct when things are spiraling out of control. And look, it's hard being in a spotlight, being in a high pressure profession where all eyes are on you and every decision you make and action that comes from that, whether on or off the court, has massive implications and consequences. And for Ja Morant, his career is at an inflection point, a career on the line that is not being taken seriously and very well could backfire on him in the worst way possible after yet again showing up on Instagram Live appearing to display a gun, this just after a couple months doing the same thing at a nightclub in Denver, which led to a short suspension and a brief stint in a counseling facility. And while I think we hope that Ja gets his act together and things turn around, because it would be a shame to see his talent wasted on poor decisions off the court, the fact that this has happened a second time leads most to believe this is a much bigger issue than what we thought and calls into question his future. If you're new to the channel and you like this type of content, then be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a video, and in return I'll be providing more NBA content like this. Now, I put a video out right after Morant stepped away from the game and checked himself into a counseling program following the video of him flashing a gun in Denver back in March, and talking about how this was a good thing. This was him showing signs of maturity to actually step away from the game, even despite the fact that his team really needed him at a critical time in closing out the season, how he was prioritizing getting the help he needed, which he himself even acknowledged that he needed to find better ways to cope and deal with the stresses and emotional challenges that he had been going through. And I thought this was great, because at the end of the day, we can criticize NBA players all we want, saying, what do you have to worry and stress about? What could you possibly be dealing with that's difficult in your life when you're making millions of dollars to play a sport for a living? But no one knows what one is going through in their life, and if they take the time to acknowledge they have a problem and seek out help, that's big of them, in my view, and a sign of maturity. However, at the time I uploaded the video, we didn't know how long Ja was going to be away from the game in the counseling program. We didn't know if he was going to be missing the rest of that season, be out for a month, a few weeks. We didn't know, as Ja and the team were very vague in terms of what his next steps were. Well, little did we know at that time that Morant didn't seem to take his actions very seriously, was in counseling for a couple of days, and returned back to the Grizzlies lineup after being away for 8 games. Slap on the wrist handed down by the league, who were being lenient and giving Ja the benefit of the doubt that, hey, he's young, he's still learning, still navigating his NBA career. People make mistakes and you hope that he learns from it. Well, the problem is Morant didn't take anything that happened back in March seriously, as evident from his recent display of a gun with his friend Devontae Pack, who was live on Instagram when Ja put it up. Pack quickly tried to turn the camera away, but the damage was done, gun was seen, and here we are. The Grizzlies have suspended Ja from all activities until further notice while an investigation is done, and you've seen both Woj and Shams reporting that Ja could face a very lengthy suspension to start the NBA season, as Adam Silver is not going to take this lightly after more or less giving him a pass the first time around. And look, I'll be honest, I don't really care what players do in their own free time. It's really none of our business what they do off the court. A lot of players have made mistakes or had scandals of some kind during their careers, even some of the best players in the league. Like, if you want to go carrying around guns just because you can, whatever. I don't necessarily agree with it, because generally speaking it condones violence, but that's just me. Everyone is different. It's a personal choice. Now, if it's an illegal gun, that's a different story, but legal or not, by state or federal law standards, the NBA has a very strict no-gun policy. And it seems like this is something that Ja Morant fails to understand. Like, it doesn't matter if you think it's okay to have a gun and wave it around for the world to see. It's his own personal right. It's his choice if he wants to do it. Well, no, not if you're being employed by an organization that has an image to protect and a policy against it. You have to play by their rules, especially when they're paying you millions of dollars to play for their league. Otherwise, you're out. They're under no obligation to keep you employed. And the thing that gets me the most, like I said, Ja wants to carry a gun, that's on him, and he assumes the risk of being an NBA star and doing that. But you have to be smarter than this. You do it once, which already took a big hit on his reputation. This, of course, also coming after the altercation that he and his crew had with the Indiana Pacers traveling staff, in which they shined a laser outside of the vehicle at the staff, which was believed to be a gun, but was never confirmed. But then you flash a gun on Instagram Live at a nightclub. You get suspended, your image takes a hit, and then you do it again. How does that happen? How is Ja not aware of the image he needs to protect for himself for the sake of his career? The man just signed a max contract extension to the tune of 5 years, $194 million. That goes into effect this upcoming season. Guaranteed money. Guaranteed unless he violates the terms of his contract, which, violating the NBA's gun policy, could be considered a breach of contract. The contract aside though, Ja also has endorsement deals, most notably with Nike and Powerade, which Powerade quickly pulled off an ad featuring Morant after the incident occurred in March, and I wouldn't be surprised if these major brands pull out of their endorsement deals altogether with Ja after this second incident. Very possible by the time you're watching this, that's already been the case. Ja Morant, only 23 years old, has his whole career ahead of him. Incredibly talented, superstar player, one of the biggest faces in the league, and he's willing to throw it all away just to be able to show off his guns. Trying to act hard, trying to be this person he's not. And even if he was that person, because I know some have said, hey, maybe this is just who Ja is. That's what he's like. Man, you already made it in the NBA. You reached the pinnacle of your profession. You're one of the wealthiest athletes out there. You move on and leave that life behind you. Make a new name for yourself. Don't let it all go away when you have so much of your life ahead of you. And look, I don't want this to come off as patronizing or judgmental. I really don't intend for it to come off that way. More so just the fact that I'm honestly shocked that this would happen again for a player who is so gifted and has so much to lose by something so stupid. The other piece that I think a lot of people are overlooking in all this and the consequences of Ja's actions is that regardless of the fact that Ja is a grown man, he can do what he wants, who are we to say what he can and can't do? It's also different when you think about the consequences that your actions have on little kids. A lot of kids look up to NBA players and view them as role models, whether for good or bad. And when you have a platform and following as big as Ja does, and kids looking up to him, wanting to be like him, and you're waving a gun around on social media for the world to see, you're sending a message to kids that this is okay. As a father of 2 young kids myself, I take issue with that. Again, whatever professional athletes want to do off the court privately is up to them, but don't go making it publicly known for your own sake and for the younger population's sake. On top of that, it's a bad look when you just got dominated in the playoffs by the Lakers, when you and your team had been talking trash all season long, saying you were fine in the West, getting embarrassed in Game 6 in a piss-poor effort elimination game, losing by 40 points, and instead you're out here dancing and celebrating, not being laser focused on the offseason and working to get better as the most fierce competitors would be doing, like a Kobe Bryant or Michael Jordan or LeBron James. Not settling for anything less than excellence, using that bad series as motivation to come back with a vengeance. Ja's not showing that at all. In fact, it's looking like he's trying to sabotage the team with these antics. So here we are. Ja's career is on the line. Now it's a matter of if he can turn things around, because regardless of his talent, teams aren't going to want a player that is going to cause problems for them off the court and is a risk of potential suspensions. It significantly impacts his marketability and viability to play in the NBA. This is tough for the Grizzlies too, because this is their franchise player who they invested in and were building around to compete for a championship. What do they even do now? A max contract that goes into effect next season? Who knows how long he'll be suspended from playing to start the year? And is this behavior going to have a negative impact on the rest of the team, the rest of the roster, who are going to start getting fed up with Ja and all of his antics and not taking the game seriously? I still hope for Ja's sake he gets the help he needs, whatever it is that he's going through gets addressed and resolved, and we can get back to watching what a fun and exciting player he is. I would love to hear what you guys think though on the matter. Let me know in the comments. As always, be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.